Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, the current session focuses on the number of speakers of English in today's world. I hope and expect that by the end of this session, you would have an idea of what is the number, or the estimated number, I would say, of the speakers of English in today's world. Well, when it comes to measuring the popularity or importance of a language, it really becomes a tricky question. Actually, it is difficult to decide how do we measure the popularity or importance of a language. If it is to be measured in terms of the speakers of that language, then we need to consider the speakers of English language who speak English as their first language, as their second language, and also those speakers who use it as a foreign language. Well, my dear students, to understand what is the number of the speakers of English language who use English as a first language, if you look at the slide, I would like you to focus on this particular area. Here, what is done is the number of speakers of English who use it as a first language is given. And here on this side, where the source is given, what you would find here is through the times, through different sources, from 1962 to 1970 and 85, so on and so forth. Here you would notice records are given as the researchers or linguists have, asserted or have, kind of made claims that what is the number of the speakers of English as a first language. If you look at the first record, that is of Quirk 1962, and by the way, all these records are in millions. So according to Quirk 1962, at that time 250 million people were using English as a first language. 1970, 300. Kachro in 1985, and I would like you to remember that Kachru is an important name in the history of the language that has been documented, because he has given a lot of theories and details about how English has expanded and where and in what ways it has expanded. Anyways, in 1985, he asserted that the speakers of English as first language are 300 million. Again, 1990, we find records of 350. Bright 1992 says 403 millions, whereas Columbia Encyclopedia 1993 makes a claim that the number is 450. What you notice is that with the passage of time, this number is increasing. Crystal 1997 and 2003, based on 1995 population surveys, says that the number is somewhere between 337 to 377. Almost the same kind of claim we notice here, that is made by Ethnologue 1992, and then World Almanac estimate 450. Crystal's current claim is of 400 words. And why this is a significant figure for us? Because there is a general consensus that if we think in today's world how many speakers of English are using it as a first language, this is a number that is considered to be a modest estimate, and this is what has been agreed upon. Well, my dear students, those who have learned it as a second language are also difficult to estimate. Well, my dear students, those who have learned English as a second language, to estimate them is equally difficult. Rather, I would say it is a bit more difficult. Why? Because, when it comes to understanding the use of English as a second language and we want to calculate the numbers, the question arises, what is the level of proficiency and what is the level of fluency that would be considered as a benchmark? If we take a basic level of conversational ability as a criterion, those people who can, have, the minimal level of having conversations in English language with a little command of specialized vocabulary, then the figure that is given by Crystal, that is of 400 million, is what has been generally agreed upon. So, the number of people who are using English as a second language is also equal to, almost I would say, equal to the number of people who are using it as a first language. Population growth in areas where English is a second language is about 3 times that in areas where it is as a first language, which means very rapidly the number of the speakers of English as second language is going to outnumber the number of speakers of English as a first language. Second language speakers of English, of course, are hugely going to exceed the number of its speakers as first language in the coming days. If you look at the table, here I would like you to focus on English as a second language and all the details that are given here, this part of the table. And again, we are going through the same sources where, 1962, the number that is given is 100, 1970, 300, and then Kachro has given in 1985 the number as 300 to 400, which is almost the same again, the agreed upon number, here and also here you can notice, through different sources through 1986, 1990, and 1992. So, this is the general kind of a consensus on the number through the times as we notice. And Kachro in 1997 and 2003 said that the number is, 235 to 350 million people. Ethnologue also confirms the same number in 1992, and the same number is agreed upon from, this source as well. So, a very modest idea would be of a number that is of 350 approximately. However, generally, somewhere between 350 to 400 people. If we move on to English as a foreign language, now you need to focus on foreign language and you need to focus on this particular column. Again, from 1962 onwards, as you see the growth, you would notice through different sources, 100 to 800, which is a huge, shift only through, say, 20 or 25 years. And then, again, a huge shift or a huge increase that we find here. And, Crystal says it is 600 to 700. So, foreign language use of English as a foreign language is used by the greatest number of people. The largest number of people uses it, that is 600 to 700 roughly. Now, if we total all these, of course, on this slide, if you see the total number of the speakers, this is what you need to focus on. And you would see through the times how there has been an immense increase in the number. And the most recent estimates say from 1400 to 1500 people speak English as first language speakers or second language speakers, or they use it as a foreign language. I hope overall these tables and the details of the estimates that are given there give you an idea of the total number of speakers in today's world.